Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So the topic we are going to discuss today is introduction to patents. So as we have discussed in another slide, patent is a form of an intellectual property which is used to protect inventions. So in this session we will discuss about what is a patent, what are inventions, what kind of inventions can be protected via patents, and what inventions are not patentable. So let's start with the session. So what is a patent? A patent is an exclusive right granted by the government to an owner of an invention for preventing others from making, using, selling, importing the invention without his or her permission. Now what that means is there are inventors who are inventing something in order to solve a problem, right? Now those inventions are very crucial for the inventors as well as the applicant who is filing that invention, and it needs to be protected. Now, why does it need to be protected? Because when an inventor invents something, they spend a lot of time, effort, and money in doing that. So, after spending a lot of time, effort, and money, if that invention is not protected, or what I mean is, if it is free for anyone to use it or copy that invention for their own advantage, then that is a great loss to the actual inventor, because the effort, time, and money that the inventor has spent is goes to waste, and someone can use it for their advantage. So just because that should not happen, the government of each of the country has this patent policy, which prevents others from making, using, selling the invention without the permission of the author, the actual inventor, and gives the rightful authority over the invention to the inventor. So let us also see what kind of inventions are patentable. Okay, I'll cover that in the next slide. Before that, let's see the second point. So the second point is a patent is a territorial right. Now what that means is, whenever an invention is to be protected, the inventor has to make sure that they file a specific patent application in the country where he or she wants to protect the invention, because there is no patent known as a global patent or a worldwide patent. So it's not possible that an inventor can file a single patent application and then protect the invention throughout the world. It's not possible. There is no facility as such provided. So whenever invention is to be protected, the inventor or the applicant needs to make sure that which are the countries he or she wants the protection in, and then accordingly file the patent application for that invention in those countries. So if you're not doing that, just imagine, like, I have an invention and I file a patent application in India, but I don't file the same patent application in China. In that case, anyone from China is free to use that invention, and I might not be able to stop that person because I have not filed a patent application in China. So it's very important to know this, that a patent is a territorial right. The third point here is a patent is valid for 20 years. Okay, so this is the lifetime of a patent. So when I file a patent application, let's say I file the patent application today, so and eventually it gets granted in maybe 1 year or 2 years. So in that case, the life of a patent will be valid for 20 years from today. Once that period of 20 years is over, that patent falls in the public domain. What that means is that the patent is free to use by anyone, and I won't have any authority over it after the 20-year period is completed. So let's see some examples of famous inventions. Okay, this will give you an idea what kind of inventions are patentable. So the first is the light bulb. Light bulb is one of the earliest inventions, and this was invented by Thomas Edison and also patented by Thomas Edison. Okay, we all know that. And since then, there has been a lot of inventions or innovations in the light bulb itself. And the light we are using today at our homes is very different from, what was invented initially. But the thing is, all of these, improvements have been patented or can be patented as and as when something new is invented by an inventor. Okay, the second is telephone. We all know that telephone is invented by Alexander Graham Bell. Again, a very, a prominent invention, I would say, that changed the course of history. It made the communication, long distance communication possible. So that is also an invention. If you see, it solved a problem. And when you're solving a problem by a technical solution, you can file a patent application on it. Then the third example is computer. Computer is also an invention solving a problem, and that also falls in the patentable category. And the another example is airplane, which was invented by the Wright brothers, and also one of the incredible inventions, I would say, which changed the scenario of transportation. So these are all inventions which are patentable inventions, and these are all the titles are very broad. But if you see each of these, like whether it's the bulb or whether it's telephone, telephone is now being used as a mobile phone. Then this computer, airplane, these in itself is formed of a bundle of patents. Okay, it's not just that for a computer a single patent is filed. No, a computer has so many components, so many parts, and each of these parts may have thousands of patents. Okay, which are protecting each improvement in those parts. Okay, the same goes for airplane. So many things, and whether it's the engine, whether it is the wings, whether it's the propeller, there are thousands and thousands of patents in each of these parts. So these are some examples which fall in the patentable category, and these are very great inventions. But it's not that only such great inventions can be protected by a patent. Even simple inventions, such as a pencil, can or such as a pin, a needle, these can also be protected by a patent. So it's not that only great inventions can be protected. These simple inventions, which are novel, useful, and inventive, and industrially applicable, can be protected via patent. So now let's discuss, what kind of inventions are patentable. So as per the patent law, and I'm talking specifically about the Indian patent law, but then this law is same for almost all the countries. So there are three requirements for an invention to be considered patentable. So the first is novel. That means that invention should be new or novel. Second is inventive step. So that means an invention should possess an inventive step. And then third one is industrially applicable. That means an invention should be industrially applicable. So I'll explain each of these points in detail in the next slides. Okay, so let's start with novelty. So what is meant by novelty? Novelty in simple language means new. So whatever invention you are looking to file a patent for should be novel or it should be new. What that means is that that invention should not have been already available. Okay, it should not be present anywhere in the public domain. So that must be your idea or your invention, and it should be new. Second point is invention must never have been made public in any way. Yeah, so that is related to that novelty point. So if it, because understand this, if it is available anywhere in the public domain, then what that means is that invention is not new because it was already known. So unless and until you don't file the patent application from that date, before that date, if the application or if the invention is present anywhere, whether in a form of another patent or patent application, or maybe an article in a journal, or whether that device itself is existing. So if it's already known before the date you are filing the patent application, then your invention cannot be considered new with respect to that publication or that patent, which is in generally known as prior art. Okay, this is an example. So one cannot patent the wheel because the wheel already forms of the prior art, because we know, right, wheels is always already existing. So you cannot go and file a patent on a wheel saying that this is your invention, because that thing is already known and we are all aware of it. So but yeah, any improvement that is done on a wheel which is not known and which is new, that can surely be patented. So this is the first and a very important point or requirement of patentability, that is novelty. Now let's see the second point. So the second point is inventive step. Inventive step means that invention should not be obvious to a person who has ordinary skill in the art. Okay, what that means is when an invention is considered by someone who possesses some skill in that specific domain, like like example, we are talking about an automotive wheel, right? So if someone has made some invention in the automotive wheel, and a person who has some skill in that field, in that domain, when that person sees that invention, it should not seem very obvious that okay, uh, there were two things already known and this person has just somewhat combined it. If it seems like that, it seems very obvious to a person who has some skill in the art, then that invention is considered to lack inventive step. So it will not be allowed to as a patent. So it's very important. Whatever the invention you are filing a patent for should involve an inventive step, which means it should not be obvious to a person who has some skill in the art. Now, this is an example of a coffee machine. So imagine that, a coffee machine is existing, which is using a brewing mechanism. Okay. Now, someone else, what they do is they make another coffee machine which looks different from the outside, but then follows the same brewing mechanism which was there in the earlier present coffee machine. They have just changed the outer appearance of it. And if the second person goes to file a patent application for this one, it will eventually get rejected, because when considered, the brewing mechanism was something which was already known. What this person did is some changes in the outer appearance of this, and that will be considered very obvious to a person skilled in the art. So eventually this invention will not be considered as a patent. I hope that you have understood this inventive step concept. This is the second and one of the most important criteria for patentability. The third criteria or requirement is industrial applicability. Now, this is a very a common requirement. In fact, anyone who is inventing something, in most cases, obviously satisfies this criteria. So what this criteria means is, the invention should be capable of being made or used in an industry. Uh, in simpler terms, if I have to define this, then that means that the invention should have some kind of an end use. Okay, so if there is an invention which is not solving anything, which is of no use, then that is not patentable. But then that hardly happens, because anyone who is inventing something may have a, like, a problem in his mind, and he is making a solution to that problem. So in most cases this criteria is satisfied whenever someone is filing a patent application on an invention. So these are the three criteria or three requirements of patentability. and anyone who is filing an invention or filing a patent application on an invention should first check whether they are satisfying these three criterias, and if they are, then they can proceed to file a patent application. Okay, so this is again, very important. What inventions are not patentable, or in other terms, it is also sometimes referred to as what are not inventions as per patent law. So even in some cases, even if you satisfy the three criteria or requirements that I mentioned in the previous slides, even if your invention is novel, and even if your invention possesses inventive step and is industrially applicable, yet there are some conditions or some sections, mm, which according to which your invention might not be allowed for a patent. Okay, so in the Indian Patents Act 1970, that's the patent book for the Indian patent law. So as per that, there is a section 3 which refers to what are not inventions or what inventions are not patentable. So we'll go through that, we'll go through each of the subsections in section 3, and I will explain like what inventions are not patentable, even if they satisfy the criteria or the requirements we mentioned earlier. So section 3A talks about inventions that are frivolous and contrary to well-established natural laws. Okay, now if someone claims that they have invented a device, which does not follow or on which the natural laws does not act, so that invention will not be patentable, because in reality we all know that it is not possible that a natural law doesn't act on a invention. Again, an example is a perpetual motion machine. So what is a perpetual motion machine? So it is a hypothetical device according to which which does not need any input but can give an output. So it's a hypothetical device. So we all know that in reality this is not possible, because as per the law of thermodynamics, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can just be converted from one form of energy into another form of energy. So when someone is saying that I have made a machine which does not need any input but can give an output, so in reality that is not possible, because it's not possible that the law doesn't act on it. So that will be rejected for a patent. The second example, so again, if someone says that they have a device on earth which is not influenced by gravity, so again this is not possible. So anything which is there in gravity will be influenced, anything which is there in on earth will be influenced by gravity. So a machine that is not influenced by gravity is not possible. So these inventions are frivolous and contrary to well established natural laws. So these inventions will eventually get rejected by the patent office. The next is section 3b. Section 3b states that the inventions whose primary use is contrary to public order or morality will not be allowed for patent. Okay, so what it means is any inventions which in some way is harmful for human or animal or living beings in general will not be allowed for patent. Now, example is, it's a device for producing fake currency. Okay, if someone invents a machine which can produce fake currency, it cannot be granted a patent, because it's not good for public morality or order in general. Same as the tool for breaking into a house. Okay, like I'll give you explain this example in more detail. So imagine that we have a common problem that at times people lose their keys. Okay, and in that case what they do is yeah, it's a big problem that people lose their keys. So what they do is they call the key maker, and then key maker may sometimes be available, sometimes might not be available, but eventually the key maker comes, and then he makes the key, and then you get a duplicate key, and then you get inside, which is an a sort of bothering or a time consuming process. So in order to overcome this problem, let's say someone invents a key which can open any kind of a door, okay, any kind of a lock. Now if you see, okay, that kind of a key was not existing before, so it's novel. Okay, obviously that key is something which is very inventive. So it also involves the inventive step, and then it is industrially applicable. That means it has some kind of an end use. Obviously, the use is to open the door whenever you are trapped outside. But still, that kind of invention will not be allowed for a patent, because imagine if such kind of keys are available, then how easy it becomes for a burglar to use that key and open any kind of lock and do any kind of theft. So because of that reason, that kind of invention will not be patentable. The next is section 3C, which is discovery of a living or non-living object or a scientific principle. So this is explanatory in itself, because discovery and invention are two very different things. Invention is something you create, and discovery is something you find out which was already there. Okay, so discovery of something which was already available, you did not invent it, you just found it. So that kind of a thing is not patentable. Section 3D states that the mere discovery of a new form of a known substance or new use of a known substance which does not result in the enhancement of the known efficacy of that substance is not patentable. So what that means is, any new form of a known substance, something which was already known, a new form of that, a salt or a derivative, or maybe a new use of a already known substance. That case not patentable. Like the example is, simple finding of a fresh use of an existing chemical. So if a chemical was already existing and it was being used for some kind of a purpose, but then someone found out a new use of that same chemical which was not known before this. So even in that case, it's not patentable, because it falls under section 3D. The section 3E states that substance generated through a simple admixture that just aggregates the quality of its components is not patentable. So what that means is, if something is being produced, let's say there's a component A, there's a component B, and then there's a component C. And component C is the combination of component A and B. So obviously, component A might have certain characteristics, and component B might have certain characteristics. So when these two components are combined, and the component C formed has just has the aggregate of the qualities of both of these components. If it was obvious, component C will have just the aggregate or the combination of these qualities. If it's obvious, then that is also not considered patentable. The section 3F states that simple arrangement, rearrangement, or duplicate of known device, each operating independently of the other in a known manner, is a not patentable. Okay, what that means is, if there were two different devices, both were functioning independently, and someone just combined it, both of these devices, and they say that this is my device, a new device which includes which is a combination of both of these devices, and it's just a simple arrangement or rearrangement, then that is not patentable. So an example is a fan with a light. So fan is already known in the market, and its purpose or its function is to blow air. And light is also being used in the market and is a very commonly known device, known invention, and its purpose is to throw light. So if someone makes a fan and attaches a light on it and says that my invention is a fan with an embedded light on it, so that's a just simple arrangement or rearrangement of the already known inventions, and that will not be considered as a patent. Section 3H states that a method of agriculture or horticulture is not patentable. So if someone today invents, or finds out a new way of doing agriculture, and that produces maybe better crops, or that produces large amount of crops, but still that method of agriculture will not be patentable. Section 3I states that a medical, surgical, or treatment process for human and animals is not patentable. Okay, so what it means is it's self-explanatory. A new way of treatment. So, if someone, let's say, invents today a treatment to cure AIDS, so that treatment process will not be patentable. It will not be allowed. But yeah, obviously, if someone, let's say, creates a medicine, or to cure that cure AIDS, then that medicine will definitely be allowed for a patent, but the treatment process will not be allowed. Similarly, surgical treatment, a surgical process will not be allowed for a patent, but the devices that are used to conduct a surgery, that can be patented. Section 3J, sorry, I've written it as Section 3I, but then that is Section 3J, states that plant and animals in whole or any part thereof is not patentable. Okay, that is, I think, self-explanatory in itself. Then Section 3K states that a mathematical or business method or a computer program per se is not patentable. Okay, so if a mathematical method or a mathematical equation is invented by someone, so that it's not patentable. Similarly, a way of doing business is not patentable, and a computer program code in itself is not patentable. Then Section 3L states that a literary, dramatic, musical, or artistic work or any other aesthetic creation is not patentable. So there is another intellectual property right for that, which is known as copyright. So copyright protects the literary, dramatic, musical, or artistic works, and that is why they cannot be protected via patent. Then Section 3M states that a method of performing a mental act or method of playing a game is not patentable. Okay, and a simple example would be, if someone found out a new way of playing a chess game. Okay, so they cannot, patent the steps involved in, playing that game. And Section 3N says a presentation of information is not patentable. I think that is self-explanatory in itself. Then Section 3O states that the topography of integrated circuits is not patentable. So the components arranged, in a circuit, the arrangement pattern is not patentable. Then Section 3P states that invention which in effect is traditional knowledge. Because something that was already known in the traditions, much earlier in history, those things which is now considered as traditional knowledge, that cannot be patented. So there was an example of turmeric. It is a very prominent case where inventors from some other country, I guess US, they filed patent for turmeric, which can be used as medicinal purposes. So, but since it was being used in India from a very very long time, there were evidence which was shown, the that turmeric was used in India, and accordingly that patent was eventually rejected. So these were the subsections of Section 3, and any invention falling under these category will not be allowed for a patent. Apart from that, there is also a Section 4 which states that inventions related to atomic energy are not patentable. So that is clear from the Indian Patent Office, that inventions that are related to atomic energy are not patentable. So these were some examples of inventions that are not patentable. So in this session we covered what is patent, what are inventions, what kind of inventions are patentable, that is what are the requirements that needs to be satisfied in order to be patentable, and what inventions are not patentable. So I guess you have got an overview of patent in general and have now better understanding of patent. So that was it for this session. We will discuss more about patents and IPR in the next sessions. Thank you.